Anyway, I am Rapaport Stereo Podcast. Obviously, the Damar Hamlin situation, the Buffalo Bill safety, defensive safety, who collapsed on the field. There's been good news with that. That was a crazy story. This morning, it was the news came out that he spoke, that the tube from his mouth, the breathing tube was removed, and he's hopefully on his way to recover from a freakish, crazy, just sort of once in a lifetime, hopefully, just scary incident that happened in the Buffalo Bills Cincinnati Bengals game. Now, we know that Deuce Collins doesn't watch a lot of sports, particularly football, but you've been following this story, right?
I've been following. I mean, yeah, I heard about. I mean, were you watching that game as it happened? Did you see? Because I haven't seen any. I haven't seen the clip. I haven't seen anything. I don't have an interest to see the clip. But like, were you watching that?
I was watching the game. I had fantasy football ramifications with that game, and I was watching it live. And you saw it, but you just thought maybe he had a concussion. You didn't think that it was something other than that, and not to say that concussions aren't like serious, but you were used to seeing concussions in football. We're used to seeing concussions in boxing and UFC, in mixed martial arts. But this was scary, and you knew it was something unusual to see an ambulance come on the field. And, normally when football players have been concussed, they'll wake up, and then when they're being, driven off the field, they'll give the thumbs up or some sort of sign. But this was totally different. And you got the sense, because they weren't saying, because I'm sure the NFL was like, do not say anything, do not give any misinformation. Obviously, they're freaking out. Like, do we have a young man die on the field on a Monday night football game in prime time? Like, is this what's happening? And, apparently he had to be revived, which is insane.
Insane. And the NFL wanted to keep the game going, didn't they? I mean, wasn't that the whole...
They didn't know what was going on. So, no, they didn't want to keep the game going. Listen, I feel like with this situation, it was so upsetting and so frustrating and so scary that people want to point fingers. Yeah. When unprecedented things happen, you might not handle it as perfect as you would if it happened all the time. I feel like the NFL handled it great. I feel like the broadcasters handled it as good as you can. I feel like the decision not to play the game has been great. It's great that this young man is breathing. It was shocking. It was scary. I can't imagine, those players on the field. Like I said, they've probably all had concussions. They've probably all seen their friends, their teammates, opponents, go down with concussions, and then, they wake up. But when you're seeing somebody be given CPR and the urgency that must have been, I'm sure it was.
That's really frightening, and thank God that he's woken up and all that stuff. And I heard that didn't he say didn't he write yesterday on a piece of paper like, did we win? That was the first thing.
First thing that he wrote was, "Did we win?" Which is like some Rocky Rudy. Yeah. That's like a movie moment. That's like like Rocky 2, a moment when Adrian, she wakes up out of her coma after having their first son, Rocky Jr. And, Rocky had been in the church praying, and Mickey was praying with him. And he said, he's trying to give a motivational speech, and Rocky wouldn't, he just couldn't do it. And Paulie was trying to give him a motivational speech, and he wouldn't do it. And then finally, Adrian woke up out of her coma, and Rocky went to go see their little son, who had great hair. A beautiful, thick mane of black hair. And why wouldn't he have a thick mane of black hair? Because Adrian, of course, his mother has beautiful, thick black hair. And, of course, the Italian stallion has beautiful, thick black hair. And she sees the kid. He sees the kid. And then Rocky in the room, he says to her, if you don't want me mixing it up with Creed anymore, I won't do it. And she says, the one thing I want you to do is come here. And she goes, win. And you see Rocky's face start to smile. And then you cut to Mickey and he goes, what are we waiting for? Goosebumps, man. Yo.
Yeah, that's a movie though, man. It's a fucking movie. You know what I mean?
Yo, Dave,
it's a movie.
When I brought you through that scene, did you get goosebumps? Yo, Rocky 2 is an underrated film.
Listen, I just worked my way up to Rocky 1 for the first time not too long ago. So I am with you on that, but anyway, that's a scary fucking moment, man. I didn't watch that, and you know what? I wanted to ask you about this, and I don't know if this is, it's a personal question and all that kind of stuff, but it's just speaking of like how, freak accidents and things like that. And you never know when someone can just like pass away right in front of you or have a heart attack or whatever. And like, weren't you with director Ted Demme, who directed Beautiful Girls and the movie Blow? Weren't you with him when he suffered a heart attack?
I was thinking a lot about that. I was thinking a lot about that this week. I was with him when the late great friend, he's a friend, Ted Demme, had a heart attack and passed away. We were playing basketball, and it was a pickup. It was a celebrity pickup game, so it was an organized celebrity game. And we had been talking, and we were on the bench, and we were talking about this movie he was going to do, and just regular nonsense. And Ted got up. And he said, let's go back in the game. And then he fell backwards.
Holy shit.
All the action was down this way. And Ted was this way. And like, he said, let's go back in the game. And then he fell backwards. And it was so exaggerated and so like dramatic. For a second, I was like thinking maybe he's like playing like it's a pratfall. And then, like the second later, I went to go look at him and, he was struggling. And then, I called for help. And it took it seemed like forever. It probably took 5 seconds to get everybody's attention because it was a big gym and everybody was looking down that end.
Yeah.
And, you knew what was going on. You knew what was going on. Like I didn't know it was a heart attack per se. I didn't know, but you knew that he was in serious, serious trouble. And he wasn't choking. And I was looking at him and, he just had his son. He just had his second son, and my kids would play with his kids, and his wife Amanda. I've known for years, and I'm friends with her since Beautiful Girls and afterwards. And I had to call her, and met her at the hospital. It was a fucking tragedy.
You called? Were you the first person to tell his wife?
Yeah,
that is, man. That's a very traumatic experience to be around.
It was rocking. It rocked me. It rocked me. I mean, it was devastating. It was devastating, obviously, for Amanda, and his son never got to meet, his father.
Oh.
I mean, he had a baby. It was months after, he had his son. And, and I met her at the hospital, and, it was terrible. It was as terrible as you could imagine. And, he was very, very, very well loved and had a big family and a lot of friends. And, he had, hands and ties into a lot of different people and it was a scary, it was devastating. It was a devastating situation to see that.
I mean, to see that and to have that, that's your friend and that's someone you've worked with and you know his family and not to mention he was 38 years old? He was young. I mean, it wasn't like, someone who's in their 60s or whatever. I mean, and there was there wasn't any signs that like there wasn't any telltale signs right before it happened.
Nope.
You were saying
he was sweating. We were playing ball. We were playing basketball. Full court basketball, which, we played all the time. And Ted was a heavy set dude, but he was an athletic heavy set dude. He was just like one of those, dudes. So it was terrible. And, to hopefully this kid, Damar Hamlin, makes it out of it. But, to go through that fear of what those players witnessed, I'm sure, they're never going to, be the same. No. Hopefully, this kid's going to make a full recovery, and they're saying he is. But it definitely this week, I was like, that was crazy.
I can't imagine. And I was thinking about that, and I was like, you don't really talk about that, obviously, but like that, man, that's a very traumatic experience, and just like a crazy week for a lot of stuff, like the Jeremy Renner with the snowplow fault, like, and then the guy who created DC Shoes died in a freak snowmobile accident where it fell on him. It was just like a whole bunch of shit was going on. Like, it's the start of the year, but it just, you never know when it's your time. Life is
crazy,
short. It's really
crazy.
sad.
There's rain out in California, Northern Cal. Like, you got a rowboat? Like, what are we dealing with? What kind of rain are you dealing with?
I fucking love the rain. And I saw like on Twitter that Pineapple Express was trending. I thought like maybe a lot of people were watching the movie lately. I thought like that was just like on HBO or something, but I guess that's what they're calling the latest storm out in Northern California, the Pineapple Express.
They couldn't come up with something different for that?
I don't know. I mean, it's very fitting for California, but it was raining like fucking crazy on New Year's. You couldn't do shit on New Year's. It was pouring out, and I've been kind of sick the past fucking week. It's not COVID, but I have had a lump in my throat for the past week. I don't know what the fuck is going on. So I did jack shit on New Year's. What I ended up doing on New Year's was I ordered a pizza, and I ended up watching the absolute classic movie from 2007, No Country for Old Men, directed by the Coen brothers. Because I'm trying to think of, I want to find this article about. Do you remember what that article was about Javier Bardem's
about
character?
No Country for Old Men, about Javier Bardem? There were like psychologists and psychiatrists, talking about how he played like mental ill, like a psychopath. It was the best portrayal of a psychopath or something like that. Yeah,
it was. I just wanted to find it. It was psychiatrists studied 400 movies to find the most realistic psychopath, and Anton Chigurh, who Javier Bardem played in No Country for Old Men, was the most realistic psychopath, next to, I think, I don't know if it was Heath Ledger in The Dark Knight, or if it was what's his name from Silence of the Lambs.
Hannibal Lecter's.
Yeah, Hannibal Lecter. But anyway, that
Hannibal
article,
Lecter's.
I was like,
Lecter's. It's Lecter's. It's Hannibal Lecter's.
No, it's Hannibal Lecter.
No, the guy's name is Hannibal Lecter's.
I thought it was Hannibal Lecter.
Lecter's. It's Hannibal Lecter's.
You sure?
It's Hannibal Lecter's. Trust me.
Okay, I guess I'll trust you. I've never heard that.
Jodie Forster and Hannibal Lecter's.
No, Jodie Foster.
Forster and Hannibal Lecter. That's what I said.
Oh, you're full of shit. You're full of shit. Jodie Forster and Hannibal Lecter's. What are you talking about?
What are you talking about? Hannibal Lecter's and Jodie Foster's.
I'm fucking done with this conversation. I can't take you seriously. But No Country for Old Men is a fantastic rewatch. I can watch that movie at any time that it's on TV. But I watched it and I was like, damn. 2007, and you know what, that movie single-handedly like catapulted Javier Bardem and Josh Brolin into like A-list status, because Josh Brolin, he'd done the Goonies when he was young in the 80s, and bit parts here and there, all that stuff. But then he did Quentin Tarantino's movie Grindhouse, which was split between Robert Rodriguez and Quentin Tarantino. It was like the two movies. But he had a part in Grindhouse, and Quentin Tarantino actually shot his audition tape for No Country for Old Men on like the most incredible camera. It was like one of the most expensive audition tapes you could do. Like Robert Rodriguez shot it and Quentin directed it.
Are you serious? I didn't know that.
Yeah. And he was like really wanting that part, like really working, because it was the last part cast. I think Javier Bardem was first, then Tommy Lee Jones, and then they needed like this everyman, Josh Brolin's character. And on the set of Grindhouse, Quentin directed it. They sent it to the Coen brothers. They still wanted to see him in person, all that stuff. But he ended up getting cast, and now it's like fucking Josh Brolin is huge, and Javier Bardem. It's one of the most iconic villains in cinema history. But it started making me think about, because I remember 2007 so well, and I think No Country got, I think that won Best Picture too in 2007.
What other films came out in 2007?
I just remember There Will Be Blood.
Wow.
Came out in 2007. No Country for Old Men. I remember the assassination of Jesse James by the coward Robert Ford with Brad Pitt.
That's an underrated movie.
Zodiac.
The assassination of Jesse James is an underrated movie.
Amazing. Also totally underrated. A lot of Western kind of movies came out, like 3:10 to Yuma. Shout out to Logan Lerman and that, and Christian Bale and Russell Crowe.
We're going to get to Logan Lerman. I'm going to put a pin in Logan Lerman because I got something to say to him. Go ahead.
Okay. And wasn't Eastern Promises, Gone Baby Gone?
Wow.
Zodiac, the Fincher movie Zodiac. And then there were some classic comedies, like Superbad came out that year.
Damn.
Juno came out that year. It was I just remember that year in particular was like one of the greatest years for movies. I fucking loved that year. But No Country for Old Men, rewatch that movie.
I'm going to rewatch that. And you mentioned Logan Lerman, 3:10 to Yuma. It's funny because Logan Lerman, one of the stars with Al Pacino and Jennifer Jason Leigh of the Amazon show called, what is it called?
Hunters. I
actually just hit Logan Lerman, who I've known for years. Before he could drive, when he had his Justin Bieber haircut, Logan Lerman, who I would say I looked after, good friend of yours, doing a show with Al Pacino on the press tour with Al Pacino for the second season of Hunters. And I reached out to Logan today. I said, hey, I see you and Al, because he's like friends with Al Pacino.
He's shown he not only has he worked with him, but he's shown me text messages of Al Pacino like texting him and like them having like back and forth conversations with each other, like I love you and all that. Like it's fucking crazy.
Right. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna try to get Logan and Al Pacino to come on the I Am Rapaport Stereo podcast. And basically, Logan, you're going to be like an assistant, because if you come on with Al Pacino, I'm not even asking you anything. Like, you could go get coffee. You could, like, you're like a plant. If you come on the TV, like, you're literally like a plant. Just take a nap, get on your phone. Like, you're bringing him there, and then it's not like I'm going to be like, so Logan, what do you think? It's all Al, everything. I want Al Pacino on the
But I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that, because it's like then you're using Logan to get to Al Pacino, and if he knows
Logan
that,
used me for rides. Logan, like he when he was like a teenager with his Justin Bieber haircut. Yeah, that's fine. What am I going to be like? Oh, I want to interview you and Al. I don't care about you, Logan. I love you, but I'm not interviewing you.
Yeah,
like,
no, we used your house as an escape to smoke weed and drink a little bit, and
right.
You know, I don't want to implicate you in any allegations there, but we did smoke weed at your house.
So now it's time to return the favor and bring Al home.
Return the favor.
Bring Al home to the I Am Rapaport Stereo podcast, because we have some great interviews coming up. We got Hall of Famer, two-time Olympic champion, one of my favorite players from Brooklyn, New York, Chris Mullin. We got Alec Baldwin coming up. I Am Rapaport Stereo podcast. We got my man To Catch a Predator, Chris Hansen, I Am Rapaport Stereo podcast. You're a big Chris Hansen, I Am Catch a Predator fan.
I am so excited. I mean, because you're saying Alec Baldwin, you're saying all these amazing people, and then you say Chris Hansen, and I'm like, my fucking ears perk up. I'm like, I've watched every episode. I've seen every episode of To Catch a Predator. I love it. Perverted Justice was the group that they used to catch these motherfuckers, that lured him in with 13-year-old boys. And I know you had that podcast with him. I'm jealous I wasn't there. I want to know if you asked him the hard-hitting question, because I don't know if you know why the show ended. I'm not sure you know why.
Why did it end? I got to ask him that.
Predator.
Why did Catch a Predator end?
You didn't ask him that, did you?
No. Why did it end?
Because if I was there, I would ask him.
Okay, but you weren't there, motherfucker. You're barely here right now. If I was there, it's like a fucking arm twist to get you here for me. Well, why did it end?
That's not fucking true, man. But the show ended because on one of their last sting operations that they ever did, they caught some guy, not some guy, he was a district attorney in Texas. He was a DA in Texas who was talking to a 13-year-old boy, all sorts of weird shit going on. And when they did the sting operation on him and they had the SWAT team or they had the police officers standing by, ready, because that's what happens. They come in and tackle them and arrest them and all that stuff. The guy ended up killing himself in front of the entire crew and shot himself.
In front of Chris Hansen?
In front of Chris Hansen, in front of the whole camera crew.
Shit.
In front of everybody. And they asked Chris Hansen about it later on and been like, yo, how do you feel about that? And he says, I don't lose any sleep over it. I don't care about it. I lose no sleep over it, and that's what it was. But that's why they canceled the show, because someone ended up killing themselves in front of the entire camera.
Wow. Well, it's a great interview with Chris Hansen, To Catch a Predator, and I'll give you a sneak peek preview of something. I got Chris Hansen, who essentially is the sick fuck of the week whisperer, to do the sick fuck of the week with me.
Epic. I can't wait for this episode. I'm so excited. I feel like you two together, that's a fucking interesting duo right there.
Yeah, so we got that. We got Alec Baldwin, Chris Mullen, Chris Hansen. We're trying to get Logan Lerman and Al Pacino. I'll put your name first. Logan Lerman and Al Pacino. But really, like, just Al Pacino. You brought up No Country for Old Men. The other day, Robert Duvall, the great, sort of sometimes underappreciated, underrated, totally understated actor Robert Duvall turned 92 years old. 92. He's still alive. I don't know if he plans on acting anymore, but what a fucking career Robert Duvall has had, from To Kill a Mockingbird to The Godfather, Part 2, to Colors, to Apocalypse Now.
Charlie, what does that have to do with No Country for Old Men?
What'd you say?
What does that have to do with No Country for Old Men?
Because I was thinking of Tommy Lee Jones as the same kind of actor.
Oh, right.
Just these great sort of, so is Josh Brolin, like understated actors. And I was The Great Santini, which is just such a great film. And Robert Duvall, he's so good. And, he's the kind of actor who looks like he's not acting. He's the kind of actor that you don't see any tricks. You don't see any bells and whistles. Like, when he is on screen, you totally believe every single thing that he's saying. And he's done performance after performance after performance, and so many films for so many years. And in my opinion, he acted and directed in one of the great actor-director performances ever, The Apostle, which, I remember when The Apostle came out, which he acted and directed, like he plays this crazy preacher who's like self-destructing. It's so good. And I would see him out to dinner, like during that award season time, and, got to talk to him a little bit. And he's just exactly what you would think. He was a straight up regular dude, cool dude, and just... he directed another film, which I don't know where it is. I was looking for it the other day when I saw it was his birthday. A really unique, totally independent film called Angelo, My Love, which really inspired visually the movie Kids. And it's just a dope New York film about like these New York gypsies. He directed that. And just Robert Duvall is so sick. He's so sick and so good, and was so good and for so long in so many films. And like I said, he's like an actor who looked like he was never acting. Ever. Like you just totally believed him in every single film. So shout out to the great Robert Duvall. Happy birthday. 92nd birthday.
I think I was with you at the Grove back in 2006. I have this vivid memory of being at the Grove in 2006, and we were eating at a restaurant, and he was walking by, and you were like, "Oh shit, that's Robert Duvall." And I think you stopped him, and you guys had a conversation with each other. And I remember being like, "Oh shit, you're talking to Robert Duvall. That's fucking crazy." I always remember that.
I think I remember that. We were eating at that place outside of the movie theater. They changed it.
Yep, right next to the movie theater, and he walked by.
Damn, you got a good memory.
Probably 06.
Yo, I'm out. I appreciate you guys watching. Leave a comment. Okay, ask a question. Leave a request. Okay, leave it all. Subscribe, rate, and review. And I appreciate you guys watching.